Hi, I'm Rutherford Rankin, and this is the Basement Book Drop. Today I'm just doing a quick little video. I've been doing some shopping, and so I wanted to share with you my book haul and my oil haul. I found some really good deals on books, and if it's on sale, I can't really pass it up. I have a lot of books to show you. And then I also got my doTerra order for January, and so I wanted to share with you the oils and products that I bought this month. So when it comes to sourcing books, a lot of times I actually just use the library. I either check a physical book out or I use the local library's ebook system to borrow an ebook. It's just easier for me to read something on my iPad instead of trying to have a lamp on my bedside table that I have to turn off when I fall asleep with a book in my hand. It's a lot easier to just read it on my iPad, but I really like the feeling of a physical book in my hands. With the pandemic, it's been really hard to get anywhere to buy a physical book without trying to order online, and I really like to hold a book before I actually buy it. It's probably a weird quirk. But this past weekend, we actually decided we were going to venture out, and so we went out of town and we did curbside pickup at a couple of stores, and then we actually went to Barnes & Noble. It was a different experience. I haven't really been out of town since March, and it is now January, the middle of January. So it's been almost a year since I've even left town. And so our local town here doesn't really have a bookstore. So it's been tough to find books here. I did actually find some books here in town that I'm going to share with you. And that kind of plays into the incredible deals that I found. I wanted to share with you a few places where I've gotten these books and show you some of the titles that will probably be in some upcoming videos. So if you're familiar with the store Dollar Tree, you probably know that they do have a small book section. I found that the books at each different Dollar Tree location are slightly different. Some have a lot of novels, some have a lot of nonfiction, some have all children's books, some have a lot of religiously based books. Our local store here, it pretty much just has a lot of children's books, but every once in a while you can actually find a good novel or a nonfiction book on the shelf. You just have to look really hard to find it. So we actually went to Dollar Tree and I found a few titles that, I mean, for $1, I couldn't really pass it up. I've had good and bad experiences buying books at Dollar Tree. A lot of times I find that there's a reason why they are at Dollar Tree. It's kind of hit or miss. I have found one or two books from Dollar Tree before that I actually liked, but for the most part, the ones that I find, they're really not great books. So I decided to buy a couple from our local Dollar Tree, and I'm going to try them out. So I'm just going to quickly show you those books. So the interesting thing about buying books at Dollar Tree is a lot of times you can tell that they were like either returned to the publisher from a actual like big box store, or that they were in another bookstore before. Mainly you can tell because there are stickers on it. So this first book is called Can You Ever Forgive Me? And it's a book by Lee Israel. And if you notice, it's actually got a 20% off Target sticker at the bottom. So they didn't even bother to really take that off. So that's the interesting thing about buying books at Dollar Tree. A lot of times you can see what store it actually came from. So this is a memoir of a literary forger. So this lady has written a book about her experience as a forger of letters and autographs. So I just thought it would be an interesting book to read. It's pretty short. I think it's just over 100 pages, so not very long. So I thought it would be a fun, quick read, something that was a little bit different. I really like memoirs, and so this one just kind of reminded me a little bit of Catch Me If You Can. So the second book that I found at Dollar Tree is called The Refrigerator Monologues. It's by Catherynne Valente, and it does have illustrations by Annie Wu. So this one just seemed a little bit different than the type of book that I normally read. It's based in this universe called Dead Town, and there's this club called the Hell Half Club, and it's a group of women. And the reason it's called The Refrigerator Monologues is because I guess that's a term for girlfriends and wives of superheroes in comic books when they get refrigerated. I guess it's a term that means they're killed, raped, brainwashed, driven mad, disabled, or had their powers taken in order to further the storyline of the male protagonists of the superhero genre. So this is told from the perspective of those women in the comic books who were refrigerated. Thought it was a little bit interesting. I'm not really a big fan of superhero type stories or comic books. So I thought it was kind of branching out for me, trying something different. The next book that I found at Dollar Tree, you can actually tell it came from Barnes & Noble originally, probably quite a while ago, because I don't think Barnes & Noble has used these stickers for probably a couple of years, at least, probably more than that. But this book is called The Light Years. It's by Chris Rush. This book is a coming-of-age memoir. It's set in the 60s and 70s, and it's a memoir from the author about growing up in the 60s, and then there was a lot of optimism in the 60s, and then moving into the 70s, things got kind of out of whack. A lot of that had to do with the drug culture, things going on in politics. And so this is his descent from the optimistic view that he had in the 60s, going into the 70s. He gets really heavy into drugs, falls in with the wrong crowd. I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but I kind of liked the cover on this one. So that's kind of why I picked it, but the themes were interesting. I'm very interested in 60s and 70s culture, and so I thought it might be an interesting read to kind of go into that world. So I'm kind of going in order of the best bargains that I got. So those books that I got from Dollar Tree, obviously they're from Dollar Tree, so I got them for $1. Pretty good deal for a book. Even if it's a bad book, you only spent $1 on it, so you can't be too upset. If nothing else, it's nice decoration for your bookshelf. One of the other places that we checked locally for books, we have a Salvation Army store and a Goodwill store here in town. A lot of times you can pick up really good titles for really cheap at thrift stores, and so we went to check them out. At Goodwill, I didn't really find a whole lot that I was interested in. Salvation Army had a lot of really old books. Nothing really caught my eye, except for one book, and that one is called Arabella of Mars. It's by David Levine. So this is an interesting plot in this book. It's actually based in the 1700s. From what I'm gathering from the description, because I haven't read it yet, it seems like it's very steampunk. I went ahead and grabbed that. I think I paid just a little over $1 for it, maybe, which isn't bad for a hardcover book. I look forward to reading this one. It's a little bit different than anything I've ever read before. So in addition to Dollar Tree, another place that I found is a really good place to get really good bargains on books, new books, is Dollar General. Yes, I'm a fan of the bargain stores, Dollar General and Dollar Tree. I was kind of surprised at the titles that Dollar General had, and they're very reasonably priced. They do have a section that has paperbacks that are about $1 to $3. On that rack, I didn't really find a whole lot. A lot of them were romance novels, and I'm just not into romance novels. And so when I got closer to the front of the store, I noticed that they had another bin of books, and I actually found Where'd You Go, Bernadette? This is by Maria Semple, and this book was actually pretty big, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, but I almost read it back then, but I didn't. I think I found another book that I wanted to read, and so I never picked this up and read it. So I was kind of surprised to find this at Dollar General, and what really surprised me was the price. It was $2. $2 at Dollar General for Where'd You Go, Bernadette? So in the same bin where I found Where'd You Go, Bernadette, there were a few other books. I had not heard of these two before, but they both sounded kind of interesting. The first one is Little Big Love, and it is by Katy Regan. I looked up some reviews online of this, and it got pretty good reviews. Basically, it's about a 10-year-old named Zach Hutchinson, and he knows a lot of facts. He's a fact collector, and he likes sharing those with people. But the one fact that he doesn't know is who his father is. And so he's trying to get his mother to, kind of reveal, but she won't really tell him. And the only thing she reveals to him is that his dad is the only man that she ever loved. And so he is on a quest to try and find his father. It was $2 at Dollar General. Couldn't beat that price for a nice hardback with a dust cover. So even if I hate it, at least I have a beautiful book to put on the shelf. And the last book that I found at Dollar General, this is called What You Don't Know About Charlie Outlaw. Really love the cover on this one. I kind of like yellow book covers because they really stand out. I like the artwork on the cover too. I know I already said you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but sometimes I just look at a book and I'm like, even if it's terrible, I have to have that just for the cover. This is by Leah Stewart, and this is about an actor named Charlie Outlaw. He's just recently broken up with his girlfriend named Josie Lamar, and so he's kind of trying to escape, I guess, like the paparazzi and the media following him around. So he tries to go to an island, he hikes into the jungle, and he encounters some kind of danger. It also kind of follows the story of his ex-girlfriend Josie. Charlie's fame is just kind of like coming up as an actor, and Josie used to be on a cult TV show that's kind of lost fame, and so he's learning how to cope with becoming famous, and she's actually learning to cope with losing her fame. So kind of moving up from the lowest bargain to a little bit higher bargain. We've had our dollar books, we've had our about $1.50, we've had our $2 books. I was kind of surprised when I went to Barnes & Noble. I don't know if something has changed with their pricing model during the pandemic, or if I just don't remember it being this way. But I got really lucky, and when I browsed their bargain section, I don't know if they were having just a really good sale or what, but there were a lot of books that were like $3, $6, and so I picked up a lot of books at Barnes & Noble for anywhere from like $3 to $7. And then I bought a couple of books that were full price, but they were buy one, get one 50% off, so I still got a pretty good deal on those. The first one that I found, this was in their book annex section. I don't know if you could see it, but it was originally a $6 bargain, and then it was dropped to $3. So I don't know if they're just clearing the shelves to bring new titles in or what. But this book is called Southern Cross the Dog, and it's by Bill Cheng. This book is, there's a flood in 1927, and there's a character named Robert Chatham who, before the flood happens, him and some friends are out playing games, and he has his first kiss. And then this flood comes through and basically just destroys everything that they have. He's forced to kind of go to this refugee camp in the Mississippi hinterland. It kind of reminded me of this book that we read, I must have been in like 5th grade, but it was about a flood that happened, I think it was in Allegheny, Pennsylvania in the 1800s. And it was told from the perspective of these children who, their house was swept away in the flood, but they were able to stay up in the attic. And as the house was being swept away by this flood, they were just trying to stay in the attic and keep out of the water. And they actually survived that way. So it kind of reminded me of that. So I thought it would be an interesting story to read. On the back of the book, it also kind of compared it to the style of William Faulkner, Flannery O'Connor, and Cormac McCarthy. And I really like Cormac McCarthy books. The Road is really good, and No Country for Old Men is really good. So if it's in that style, I will probably enjoy it. So another book that I found, and this one was originally $7, and it was marked down to $3 for a hardcover, which I couldn't pass up. What initially caught my eye with this book was the cover. I really liked the cover, but it's an interesting book after I read what it is about. So it's called Nutshell, and it's by Ian McEwan. This book is an adaptation of Shakespeare's Hamlet, told from the perspective of an unborn baby. So I'm not really sure what it's going to be like. I did kind of flip through and read some of the dialogue, and it sounds a little strange, but I kind of like strange books, so maybe I'll enjoy it. It's an interesting take to take a story like Hamlet and tell it from the perspective of an unborn baby. I have heard of other books that were told from the perspective of an unborn baby, but it's just interesting that you would adapt a Shakespeare kind of plot into that. So that will be a strange but interesting read. So another book that I picked up in the bargain books, this one was not actually marked down to like a $3 price. It was actually $7, which it really isn't bad for a hardcover book. So this book is about a character named David Hedges, and his life is just kind of falling apart. He hates his job. It's kind of frustrating. His job is to help these rich kids in San Francisco get into the colleges that they want. So he finds that job unfulfilling. His boyfriend has just left him, and the house that he's renting is being sold. And so he's pretty much, everything is upended for him. In a way, the story kind of reminds me a little bit of like Will and Grace. And so we'll see if it turns out that way, but I liked the cover on this one, and it sounded like an interesting story. So the other book that I picked up in the bargain area at Barnes & Noble is The Terranauts. And this book is by T.C. Boyle. For a book this size and being hardcover, $3 was just too much to pass up. And the funny thing is, I had gone to Barnes & Noble probably 2 years ago, and I saw this book, and I almost bought it for full price. And full price for this book is $26.99. I'm so glad I waited, because for $3, dang. So this book is about a sort of experimental community called E2. So the world is on the brink of climate change, basically destroying the earth. Hello, what we're in. And so there's this sort of experiment called E2 in the desert in Arizona. And so this book is about the groups of people who are brought into that experiment. The point of the experiment is to see whether they can self-sustain in this environment. The interesting thing is that the book is actually told from the perspective of 3 different narrators. And so it's a pretty big book, but it sounds like it could be interesting the way that they switch back and forth between the narrators. So outside of the bargain bin at Barnes & Noble, I did pick up 2 books that were not necessarily on a bargain sale. They were buy one, get one 50% off, which you still get a pretty good deal with that. So the first one is called We Are Not Okay, and it's by Nina LaCour. I've seen this book online. I've seen other people review it, and I've almost read it a few times and then changed my mind, probably because the description is a little vague. It just says that Marin hasn't spoken to anyone from her old life since the day she left everything behind. It'll be interesting to find out what that thing is that she left behind and why she, started out on this new life. I like books that kind of have that mystery about them without being like a mystery. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. So this book was a national bestseller and winner of the Michael L. Prince Award, which is a young adult literature book award. So we're gonna see if it stands up to that award. So the final book that I picked up, this one's a lot more serious. This one's called Dear Martin, and it's by Nick Stone. I know Nick Stone has written a lot of other books based kind of around a social justice story, and this one sounded very relevant to a lot of things that have been happening in the past year and years before, but really coming to a head in the last year. So this book is about a character named Justice McAllister. He's a great student, he has a bright future. He does live in a rough neighborhood, and so he tries to get away from that rough neighborhood to try and, set his path right. And then at some point, he's driving around with his best friend Manny, and they get pulled over by an off-duty police officer. There's some words that are exchanged, and there's a shooting. I'm not really sure, it doesn't really tell me much about what's going on with that shooting, but in the end, it sounds like Justice is the one who's going to face the consequences for it. So it definitely sounded like something that would be a good read, considering things that are going on in our society right now, especially around race. So I'm actually really looking forward to reading this book. I try to be aware of things that are happening in society based around different diversity identities, whether that be race, ethnicity, nationality, gender, sexual identity, sexual orientation, that type of thing. So I really want to broaden my horizons with a book like this to give me the perspective of this character. So I hope you enjoyed that book haul. I know that was a lot of books to go through. I definitely have some stock on hand to guide me for future videos, so I look forward to reading those and then sharing reviews with you. I also wanted to share my oil haul for the month. So I just got my doTerra order for January today, and so I'm really excited to share the products that I bought with you. So one thing that I buy every single month, and my friend laughs at me because I buy so many of them, but these are Peppermint Beadlets. And these are actually just like small little, they're kind of like a jelly beadlet, but they have peppermint oil inside. So these are really great for freshening your breath. The thing that I like about them is they're these little round kind of jelly-like balls, almost like a boba tea, but really tiny. And I actually will take 2 or 3 of these at a time and pop them in my mouth. And I roll them around in my tongue while I'm working, and they really actually help me focus. I think it's just because my mouth is occupied. They're also very refreshing, and they're a good wake up because peppermint oil really wakes you up and it opens your airways and your senses. So I really love peppermint beadlets. I usually buy 5 of these containers a month. The great thing is I have points saved up because I have a loyalty rewards points account. So I collect points every time I make a purchase every month, and then I can use those points to buy product. So typically I will buy these with my LRP points. So I get them technically for free. There's a $3 point redemption fee, but I typically will buy 5 of these with points every month. And those 5 will last me most of the month. Sometimes I run out before then. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop a few right now. So the other thing that I bought, you may notice, maybe I look a little bit different today, maybe I don't. In some of my other videos, I actually wear makeup to kind of make me look better in my videos. I do wear makeup occasionally to work if I have like a video meeting that I want to look nice for. That's something that I just started in the past couple of months. But the thing with doing makeup is you realize, you kind of take a closer look at your skin and you realize how poorly you've taken care of your skin over the years. Especially in my case, other than washing my face every day, I haven't really done a whole lot with my skin. Don't moisturize. I don't really, do like masks or that type of thing. I mean, very rarely will I do a mask. So I decided that I'm gonna do kind of a challenge. And I'm actually going to try this skincare line from doTerra called Verage. And so I bought the whole collection. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to do a separate video from this one where I kind of point out flaws on my face and then talk about this product. And I'm actually gonna try it out for 30 days. And then I'm gonna do a follow-up video after 30 days of using it. And we're gonna see if there are any changes in my skin on my face as we do that. So this collection actually includes a Verage cleanser, Verage toner, Verage Immortelle hydrating serum, and a Verage moisturizer. And all of these products actually have essential oils infused in them. And so you're getting some of the benefits of those oils. So the cleanser is in kind of a tube. The toner is actually kind of a spray toner, which I really like because I can spray it on my face and then use a cotton pad to rub it around. The moisturizer is kind of in a pump bottle. And the hydrating serum is also in a kind of pump bottle. So I'm definitely looking forward to giving this a try. So I definitely have not taken care of my skin very well, not just product-wise, but just basic skincare, things like wearing sunscreen when I'm outside, that sort of thing. I have a lot of sun damage on my skin. The last 2 years that I was in high school during the summers, I was a lifeguard, and so I was out in the sun a lot then. I also had a side hustle where I mowed lawns for people, so I was out in the sun then. Even now, I'm out in the sun a lot in the summer, mowing the lawn, doing lawn care type stuff. And a lot of times I don't wear sunscreen, and I know I need to change that because it's a big risk for skin cancer. But besides that, it has made some changes in my skin that I don't like. I've got some discoloration, hyperpigmentation. I've got some weird spots on my face that are kind of scaly. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying this Verage line and seeing if it can reverse some of the aging that I have on my skin just from neglect and from sun damage. So be sure to stay tuned to the next episode after this one. I'm gonna kind of do a very close-up view and show you the things that I don't like about my skin and what I'm trying to get rid of. And then we're gonna do a close-up view in 30 days. And then we're just gonna kind of see whether it makes a difference. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing the bargains that I got and you don't think I'm crazy for buying so many books at one time. We will catch you next time on the Basement Book Drop. In the meantime, stay safe, stay sane, and stay you.